Hello, Facebook. Good evening, good evening. Give me a moment to get set up on Instagram because we're live on Instagram as well. One moment. Hope you guys had a great day today. Got to log in my title here. Hello, good evening, Instagram. Welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday. Let me get my title up here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Not sure how to do that, but in any event. Okay. So hello. Happy Wednesday. This is Rochelle Lawson here, and I am the founder and CEO of At the Table Communication, where our mission is to support the preservation of families through education, leadership, and personal development, particularly of young women. And I am super excited to be here tonight. So thankful to God for the opportunity to come and to share and to be here with you guys. So just wanted to thank you for your support. Please share this live if you're able to. I know on Instagram you can't, but you could. I don't mind if you tag someone in it, but on Facebook you can, excuse me, share with your friends or your children. If you have 20 somethings, like like I do, this would be beneficial to them as well as for you. So tonight we are talking about 5 signs that your relationship is on the downside. How do you know if your relationship is on the downside? I mean, there are some very obvious telltale signs that your relationship is on the decline, but sometimes we can miss it in relationships, right? Like if you're not really in tune or attentive to your partner, then you may not really recognize those signs. So last night we talked about what things that we need to do, a few things. We talked about 5 things to do to help us to maintain healthy relationships, maintain and nurture healthy relationships. And so if we don't maintain relationships, then relationships will dissolve, right? They'll decline and they won't be healthy, and they'll die. So when we don't nurture our plants and we don't nurture our own bodies with, healthy food and water and photosynthesis and so forth, right? We become ill. Even plants do. They get diseases and they die because they're not being nurtured and cultivated. And relationships are the very same. So, when you hear people saying that relationships require work, they do require work, but that work is not, can be very challenging, but it isn't always challenging. And so I just wanted to talk about these 5 signs that your relationship is on a decline. And please, I want to ask you to do me a huge favor. If there are ever any ideas that you have for topics that you'd like to talk about or discussions you'd like to have around the areas of identity, purpose, or relationships, I would absolutely welcome those in the DM. Hey, Lawrencine, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We're talking about 5 signs that your romantic relationship is on the downside, on the decline. Hey, Devonna, how are you? Thanks for joining me on Instagram. Thank you so much. All right, so as I said before, there are some very obvious things that we may notice in our relationships that, may stand out to us to help us to see that, there are problems. But have you ever been in a relationship with someone who absolutely did not know that there was an issue? They were clueless, but you were fully aware that you were unhappy, that you were frustrated, that you were challenged in the relationship, and this other person had no idea that there was a problem. They had no idea, but you had every idea, and and so there are some times and some people who don't really understand or know or notice because they're not in tuned, they're not connected, they may be detached in the relationship, they may be in denial. There's many reasons why people may miss it, but it's possible that they do. Hi, Dr. Rixie and Jill, thank you so much for joining. So tonight we're talking about 5 signs that your relationship is on the decline. And tonight we are specifically talking about romantic relationships. So dating, spousal relationships, and so forth. And it could apply to other family relationships as well. Okay. So the first sign that your relationship is on the decline is it's a stage called differentiating. And basically what that means is that when you and your partner begin to see disconnects where the small things matter a lot in the relationship, like things that they do that frustrate you, and these are things that maybe initially in the relationship they were cute, or you like those things about them, like they may slurp their soup, or they may leave the seat up, or the way that they close the doors or slam doors, or maybe the way that they just little nuances about people that are different. And early on in relationships, those things may be acceptable. They may bother you, but they're acceptable. But in the differentiating stage of the relationship, this is a sign where you're frustrated with everything that they do. And it's the little things that you cannot any longer tolerate, right? Have you guys experienced that before where thank you, Dr. Rixie. And so have you experienced that before where every little thing they do, from leaving their shoes in the middle of the room, not making the bed, I just went through these things just earlier this year with my son, my oldest son, and I said, this is going bad fast, right? So this is a differentiating stage. This is where partners begin to see those differences as undesirable and quite annoying, right? Just frustrated with their partner. And so if you're attentive in the relationship, and you're aware of what your partner's doing, then it's easy for you to notice that, and you can shift gears, because relationships that are on the decline can also go back on the upswing as well. And we'll talk about that, the stages of how relationships grow and develop. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So keep that in mind. All right. And so the second way that we know that our relationships are on the decline is where where one or two of you partners begin to see a decrease in the quality time that you spend together, and the amount of time. So the quality and the quantity of time that you spend together. If you find yourself arguing or fussy or irritated when you spend time together, or you spend less and less time together, like you don't see each other, every week. You might see, not every week, but every day. You might only see each other for a few minutes every day, or you're passing. And some of that passing time is intentional, right? Because you don't want to be bothered. You're not interested. You don't want to talk. You really don't want to see them. And so you either intentionally disconnect yourself and separate yourself so that you're not spending as much time together, or it could just be your family situation, whatever the case may be. But these are ways that you can know that the relationship is on the decline. Where's the time? Where's the connectedness? Where's the bonding? Right? Because we talked about last night, spending time together, sharing that quality time, sharing tasks together is a critical part of maintaining healthy relationships, right? So if we're not doing that, then the relationship is likely on the downside, And so in this another thing about this part of it is that oftentimes partners in the relationship are doing everything they can to avoid conflict, because when they see when they see their partner, their spouse, they know it's going down, right? It like, there's going to be an argument. I'm going to say something they don't like, or they're going to say something that I don't like, and it's just going to be a problem. So it's intentional avoidance to minimize the interactions. Quality of time and quantity of time is lessened, right? And that's in it's called circumscribing, but it's just where your partners begin to decrease your time together. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Let's see if I can see the comments. All right. So the third stage is where the relationship is stagnated. And you all know what that's like. If you think about water and you think about water sitting in a sink, if you've ever done this, I know this is my home. It's not the only one that this has happened in, where you've had dishwater made, ready to wash the dishes, and then the day gets away from you and the night gets away from you, and then the water is setting in the sink and the water is stale, and it begins to build bacteria and so forth in it, and at some point it begins to stink. It's stale, stagnant water, and relationships can do the same. So this stage or period of stagnation where you're no longer speaking to one another, you're no longer spending time together, because in the previous stage, remember we talked about, you started to spend less and less quality time together, and the amount of time you spent together was less frequent. In this stage, you're not spending much of any time together at all. And relationships, people in the relationship begin to grow apart. So you might share separate bedrooms. You might even move out of the house altogether, but sharing separate bedrooms, not having meals together, changing your schedule of work so that you're not at home at the same times. It's absolute avoidance. And the interesting thing about this stage of relationships is that people can stay in a stage of stagnation for years. How many of you have ever asked somebody, why did you stay so long? Why did you stay? Why didn't you just leave the relationship? I mean, you were frustrated. You know that it wasn't healthy anymore. You guys didn't spend any time together. You didn't nurture the kids together. You didn't share meals together. You didn't spend, you didn't travel. Like, you didn't do anything together. You're just living in the same house. Like, it's a financial, you're in the relationship still because of the financial responsibilities that you have, but it provides nothing else for you. Nothing else for you. But people stay stagnated, and this is in marriages or in dating relationships for years, where someone's in the basement. You see me looking down. I don't have a basement, but one person is living in the basement and the other person may be living upstairs, and you live totally separate lives where there's no interaction for years. They do it for the kids. Sometimes, if you heard anybody say, they're staying together for the kids, or because they can't get out of it. They're financially committed to the relationship, so they can't leave because of their responsibilities there with that family, right? And so this could go on for years. And I don't know how true this is, but I have found a lot of times, particularly in the Black community, that husbands and wives may separate and not divorce, will be separated for 15 years, right? Have you ever heard of that? 10 or 15 years are separated, and sometimes they get back together, and the kids are like, oh, that mom and dad, they always argue, and then they get back together and they remarry, or they reconnect, but they go through that period of stagnation forever, and they never make it official that they're ending that relationship, but they stay in that stagnant place. Excuse me. So this relationship is obviously on decline. The reasons that you're in the relationship are not likely the reasons that you entered in the first place. They may be the reasons that you stayed, but not the reasons that you entered the relationship, which is oftentimes where the value is. Like, we enter into relationships because they're exciting. Someone adds value to our lives. We feel energized. We're looking forward to opportunities to, to travel and to grow. And this person may be very nurturing to us. And so it's like, man, your life changes as you continue to evolve with this person, and you can see endless possibilities. And so you stay connected. So you connect and you stay connected. Those are the reasons that we get involved in relationships, but the reasons that we stay may not be the same. And so that is stagnation. All right. And then another stage or another sign that your relationship is on the decline is avoidance, absolute avoidance. This is where someone moves out of the house. They will not respond to your text messages, not answer your calls, maybe block your phone number altogether. Total avoidance. There's no communication, no interaction about the children even. I mean, as much as the two can do to stay away from one another is avoidance, because there's a high level of conflict. It could be very volatile in that relationship in this stage. And there's no more togetherness. And so the two parties are they're tired. They don't want it anymore. They're not committed to it. They're not interested in trying anymore. They're staying away from this person just until they can do what? Get out, basically. So, think about your relationship. If you are in a romantic relationship, or if you have been in romantic relationships, think about where you are. And I don't know if somebody will tell me what kind of things did you see in your relationships that fit into where any of these signs were manifested in your relationships, whether it had been, where you began to see those things that you used to think were cute, that's not cute anymore. You don't like when they do that. You can't stand it. It unnerves you, right? Unnerves you. It gets under every cell, not under your skin. It gets under your cells. Or where you begin to, the circumscribing, where you begin to decrease the quality and quantity of time together. Just, no more of that nitpicking. We're just gonna minimize this altogether. Does anybody want to share? Hi, Monica. Thanks so much for joining. I miss seeing you. Okay. And so the last sign that your relationship is obviously on the decline is termination. And this is basically when the relationship ends in separation or divorce, which is so devastating. It is so devastating to families, to children. And research has shown that divorce impacts the lives of the children of the divorce for decades. I mean, like, parents who divorce when the children are 3 and 4 years old still deal with the implications of that divorce when they're in their 40s and in their own marriages and families. It's heavy. It's heavy. And so so I want to just say that one of the reasons that I think it's important for us to talk about this is that the way our culture accepts dating relationships and kind of in and out of relationships is that, it's equally as devastating to do it that way, even, or maybe even more so than if you're married. It's the same. The pain is the same. The hurt is the same. On a spiritual level, when we connect ourselves to someone, sexually, that experience is a spiritual experience. And so there is a ripping away, if you will, a ripping away of a part of your soul when you separate and when you divorce and break up from a relationship. And it's devastating. Some people don't recover from it. I mean, you have so many situations where people, people commit suicide, obviously. Excuse me, people commit suicide. People never remarry, or they do remarry, and that next relationship carries the baggage with it, right? And then the children also suffer in that relationship as well. I mean, it's just difficult because our culture and our society is so quick to like hop in and out of relationships, like in and out and in and out. And you can just sign a prenuptial agreement and you're on your way out of here and so forth. But your heart is connected, your lives are connected, and your families are connected. I mean, it's just, it hurts me. I mean, I don't know if you guys, how you feel about it. I've had friends who've been married and divorced, and they're thankful and they're celebrating. I get it. I've been in an abusive relationship before, and I was absolutely glad to be out of it, but I was hurting a lot because I gave everything that I had in that relationship, you know, and I suffered on the outside, on the back end of it, on the downside. And so, you know, I think that we just need to spend more time at the beginning stages of the relationship, you know, making sure that we're not compromising ourselves, making sure that we, you know, get a good understanding of who we are, what our relationship with God is. You know, these things, your core values, those things don't change about a person, not very readily, like not easily, because they are who you are. These, you know, these are your core values, what you believe to your heart. And any relationship that compromises that is going to challenge you. And so we need to spend more time on the front end of the relationship, and not just what the world says about dating and, you know, what does their 401k package look like. Those things are important in terms of investment and spending and that sort of thing, because you're connecting your whole life with them, your credit, you know, your future, your children, and so forth. But that's not the end all be all. It's not the end all be all. And excuse me, if we spent more time on the front end of the relationship about how we enter into it, as opposed to on the back end of it with, should I stay in that stagnation stage or should I just leave or what have you, I think we would be better off. I think we would be better off. So many people, I mean, get into relationships. You don't get into relationships to divorce. You don't. And so it, you know, and I've never been married. So when people who are my friends who marry divorce, it saddens me, because you never enter into that relationship with the expectation of divorcing. You just don't. Now, are you happy to be free? Yes. Is it better for the children? Sometimes it is. You know, that's an individual situation that you have to determine whether or not the children are better off in that abusive environment or not. I mean, I can't tell you that. I would think not. If it's an abusive, unhealthy environment, the children are gonna suffer as a result of that. And so we have to consider all that. So the 5 signs that your relationship is on the decline, and these are romantic relationships specifically, are the differentiating stage, where the partners begin to get annoyed by those things that you used to do that were so cute, right? The second is where the partners begin to decrease the quality and the quantity of time that they spend together. Just less and less time together, missing each other in the morning, missing each other in the evenings. Have you ever done that? I went to bed before he got home, and I went to work before she got up, so that you miss one another. And it's intentional, but it's minimal, right? And then that stagnation stage, where there's nothing growing. It's just stale, stinking water. Stale, stinking water. And that stagnation stage can last for a very long time. And then that avoidance stage, where the physical and emotional distance is created between partners. One may move downstairs, one may move, and you may move to a whole other house, but you're still together because you have some financial responsibilities, but you're definitely avoiding one another, not responding to messages, not answering the phone when they call, not showing up when they expect you to, those kinds of things. Any way to avoid interacting with them altogether. Avoidance. You're tired. You don't want to do it anymore. And then the 5th sign is just, I'm out of here. You come home one day and all his things are packed, or all of her things are packed, and the children are gone, and there's no note, but your life is upside down. You felt it coming, maybe, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't see it coming. You felt blindsided. And that's why I want to talk about these 5 signs, because there are people who actually have no clue. Have no clue. I think it's, I don't want to say that. I was going to stereotype. I think it's men. I think it's men, because women are intuitive. We know. We know. And so I think it's more men than women. Just they're blindsided by it. But these signs can help you to be aware of the status of your relationship, the strength of the relationship, and whether or not it's on the decline, on the downside. So, does anybody have any questions, any comments? I would love to hear from you guys. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. I do have an announcement to make. I am preparing to launch my book release on November the 6th. Yay! So I'm super excited about that. Thankful to God for the opportunity. The book title is Get Your Life. 10 things you should know about life and relationships. And this book is particularly for young adults. There are older adults who can benefit from some of the information that is shared in the book, these 10 overarching concepts and ideas that cause relationships to decline and lead to divorce, and not only relationships, but then other areas of life itself. So I'm dealing with those foundational keys to life, and then foundations of healthy relationships. And so it's tailored to the young adult. My mission, as I said before, the mission of At the Table Communication is to support the preservation of families through education, leadership, and personal development of young women. And I see a lot of coaches who work with adult women who are they've been just broken so much. We go through so much mess in our adult lives trying to figure it out, making those poor choices. And and there is help and there is hope. And my mission is to help prevent those young adults from experiencing those same things. They don't have to. I wish somebody had just told me. Now, what I do with that information is on me. I can listen or I can not. I can take advantage of that or not, learn from other people's mistakes. But so many people just don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. And their hearts are challenged. Our family systems are challenged. Our culture is lost. And there is a way. The Bible says there's a way that seems right unto man, but the end thereof is death. And that's where we're headed. So my mission is to help circumvent that by adding this value to young adults, giving them some skills in the way of healthy relationships, and personal development. So if you know someone, please share with them. Instagram, I think, is going dead. So thank you all for joining me tonight. As I said before, if you have any questions or any specific content that you'd like for me to talk about, please share. DM me either on IG or on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll talk to you again. We'll be back tomorrow night. We're going to talk about those stages or those signs of that relationship incline. All right. We'll talk to you soon. May the peace of the Lord be with you. Take care. Bye-bye.